The arm talent is even better than advertised. Yeah, I could point to a bunch of examples where he changed the protection, picked up the blitz, knew the blitz was coming, made this incredible throw. I mean, I found myself just sitting at my desk at times and going, he's on our team.
The Chargers had their first of 3 minicamp practices yesterday, and basically every single takeaway that we have gotten thus far throughout all of the practices is that Justin Herbert is an amazing quarterback and he looks awesome. He's got great hair, and also he's wearing a gold jersey, so don't touch him. But yesterday, the defense was actually able to play really well against him in practice, which is a great sign for this defense because Justin Herbert, he needs those guys to play well in order to win games. Like Brandon Staley proved that. I mean, even though Justin Herbert can be an edge rusher, it doesn't mean that he should.
He smashed the conditioning test to the point, I mean, the athleticism and the strength, really. I mean, he could play tight end here. He could play edge rusher here.
And we're pretty deep at that position anyway, so I think that they should probably keep him at quarterback for right now. But a big focus in practice yesterday was the red zone drills, and they had the first team defense playing the first team offense, which they didn't do much at all in OTAs. The pads are still off, okay, so it's still also 7-on-7s, but when it comes to throwing the ball, I think that you can get a pretty good feel of the personnel that you have out there. So this is the first report that we have of this defense really kind of being tested by this first team offense and in the red zone, and the defense was able to hold 2 different times, and then Asante Samuel Jr. forced DJ Chark out of bounds on a catch in the back of the end zone. Now, Asante Samuel Jr., bro, he has continued to be a force so far in this offseason, and he's a guy that he's going to need to have a huge year like we've talked about. He is entering that final year of his contract, and we don't know what Joe Ortiz wants to do with him because he could let him walk for a nice comp pick or you re-sign him. Either way, it just doesn't really matter right now. He's doing everything right so far. Like, his rookie year was awesome. If he can just get back to that level of play, like, that would be really big for this defense. And I think he could earn himself a long-term starting job. Both him and Christian Fulton have been the starters at outside cornerback so far in practices, and they both have flashed at times, but Asante Samuel, man, he has been the most impressive out of probably anybody so far in this whole process. But we still, again, we got a long ways to go. Like, we really need to see these guys in pads in order to get like a full grasp of them. But that's going to happen in training camp, and that's in late July. And also, it is now confirmed that the Chargers will have 2 joint practices with the Rams. Now, that's going to be sometime between August 12th and 15th because that's the week leading up to their preseason game. That's the week 2 preseason game, just like the Chargers did last year against the Saints. But they could hold some more of these because the Rams are holding 2 other ones with the other teams, so they're kind of cheating on us. But Jim Harbaugh, he talked about in his interview, and he wanted to be vague about it, but they're still in talks. I think they're probably in talks with teams like the Saints, the Cowboys, and then maybe the Raiders, but I think that's very unlikely. All those guys are in Southern California for training camp, and I'd expect either the Saints or the Cowboys because I don't think you want to practice with your division rival, especially because they're going to be in the old facility in Costa Mesa. The Raiders are, and that's awkward, man. Like, let's practice with the Cowboys. They're the best out of all of those teams, and I think a very likely team that they could practice with. Justin Herbert also cooked a little bit yesterday outside of the red zone, and at the 22-yard line, he threw a wheel route to Jarrett Patterson, the running back, for a touchdown. Now, we know that Justin Herbert is going to be throwing touchdowns, but Jarrett Patterson is the running back that I would least expect to make this roster. So the fact that he's not only playing against that starting defense, but also throwing touchdowns to roster bubble players, I mean, it just goes to show how good Justin Herbert is, man. Jim Harbaugh, he spent like 10 minutes just talking about how much he loves Justin Herbert. And one of the things that he said was
he elevates teammates. He lifts them up as opposed to the guy that pushes the others down. And
now, I don't want to take any credit away from Jarrett Patterson. Like, he caught the touchdown, against the starters. But I can't help but be curious as to why we haven't seen or heard much of Kimani Vidal. He's someone that I was really expecting to impress immediately as a rookie, but he just hasn't so far in practice, which it's interesting. It's not a bad sign, obviously. I'm not worried. The pads, they're still off, and running back, that is a position where you really need to be in full contact in order to like shine and show what you got. But like, he can catch too, you know. It's just something that I'll be keeping an eye on in training camp, because this running back room, it has a lot of boom or bust potential, and nothing is for certain, but I am still fully on the Kimani Vidal train. I cannot wait to see him with the pads on. I am also on the train of another rookie that we drafted on the offensive side of the ball this year, because the one thing that has remained certain from the very beginning of practices is that lad McConkey is Justin Herbert's favorite target. At this point, we're all just kind of sounding like a broken record. I mean, we know the drill by now. Lad McConkey, he's being lined up in the slot in team drills, and he's just flat out balling all over the middle of the field. And keep in mind that he's not being lined up against the backups or like some fringe roster defenders right now. Trey Pipkins in those spots. And you can see, like, look, Malik Neighbors, he is looking pretty good right now for the Giants as well. I mean, I'm not saying Malik Neighbors isn't a great player. I still think he is, and we knew that he would be, but the combination of guys that we have, it just is starting to look better and better every day. No one could have anticipated that lad McConkey would instantly become Justin's favorite wide receiver. I mean, you could speculate, but like, no one knows for sure. It's a good fit for sure, obviously, but the fact that he has come in and already established himself as a quarterback favorite, that's just really, you know, best case scenario. And do you guys think in San Diego for a Play 60 event, and it was sold out, Jim Harbaugh, he invited all of the military families in the stands onto the field. They were doing like walkthroughs and signing autographs and things like that. It was a very classy move by the Chargers to do something nice, not only for like the military, but for the city of San Diego. And I'm really glad that the city came out in full support and accepted them, because, you know, it's kind of a little bit of a rough history there. A lot of people in San Diego still just hate the Chargers. I know guys that became Raiders fans because they wanted to really just stick it to the Chargers for leaving San Diego. And it just, yesterday, it looks like a great time out there. Chargers fans are still alive and kicking in San Diego. I mean, some of you guys were probably even there. If you were there, leave it in the comments. Let me know what the vibe was. And I'll talk more about everything that Jim Harbaugh said in his interview yesterday. But one thing that he said that really stuck out to me is the offensive line is already solidified.